I have finally made room in my schedule to do some writing, and I have to write today. The reason for this urgency is this. This is the novel that I'm currently working on. I don't know if you could hear me with my face covered. It's the novel I'm currently working on. It is my final personal draft, which for me that basically just means it's the last draft I have where it's all been my own kind of corrections or corrections of family members. But on October 4th, I am sending this bad boy off to a developmental editor. She's gonna look at the first pages and critique them and give me an impression of how she believes agents and publishers and readers will perceive the novel and if it kind of sucks them in. So I have my supplies in front of me. There's a little card kind of just protecting the title. I don't know if that's important. All the other author tubers I've watched don't tell the titles of their books. They kind of have like project names. I think I'll probably do acronyms off of the title of the book. It just seems easiest to me. So there you go, Project TDY. Those are the first letters in each word of the working title. I have my latest printed draft of the book, though I have already made some edits based off of feedback I got from one of my sisters. This is the feedback from my other sister who just got it back to me, and I'm gonna go through and see if there's anything that I haven't already corrected, any insights she can offer me before I send my completed pages off to the developmental editor. I have some sticky notes just in case. I don't know, you can never have too many sticky notes. And I also have my computer, and I guess I should kind of explain why I am making edits after an editor has already agreed to look at the first 35 pages. So the reason for this is when I was initially seeking out a developmental editor, I sent off my first 10 pages as a sort of amuse-bouche type thing to see if she'd be interested in my story, interested in reading and critiquing my story. Okay, this camera's too heavy. I can't hold it like this. So in the week between me sending my pages off to her and her getting back to me and agreeing to edit, I actually got some reader feedback from a family friend who is a published author. Feedback essentially said that while she thought the concept was intriguing, the beginning of my story has a strange tense. This actually didn't come as a surprise to me. My first 10 pages are the first chapter, which are actually the remnants of an old prologue. I'm the first to admit that it is kind of an info dump. When the developmental editor got back to me and said she'd be interested in critiquing my first 25 pages, I realized that half of those pages would be critiquing something I already knew I was gonna have to fully change and revamp. I still think she would have provided absolutely valuable feedback on how to revamp it, but what I'm hoping is that all of her notes that she gives me in my first 35 pages, I can kind of extrapolate and apply to the rest of the story. If she critiques my sentence structure, if she critiques my voice and my characterization, that's all stuff that is throughout the entire novel and can be applied to the rest of the novel. The first 10 pages are kind of a different voice, a different sentence structure, a different tense, different characterization. It just feels different from the story. It's so hot. Oh, Lord have mercy, that's so delicious. If you're wondering what Texas iced tea is, it means it's loaded with sugar, so it's the best. So long story short, I reached out to the editor and I mentioned this conundrum that I have. She was so amazing and is giving me that time to make those changes before I send my pages off to her. So like I said before, I'm gonna quickly go over any notes that are relevant from my sister in this physical draft, and then on my computer I'm going to go over the notes from the family friend who is an author as well and gave me some really incredible advice and kind of is the reason for these big changes. Okay, no more stalling, let's get started. I made it about an hour and a half outside. I came inside to get some more sweet tea, and then the air conditioning was like absolute paradise. So I have relocated. And for a progress update, I've made my way through my sister's notes. She was really helpful in pointing out places where I was telling a little too much versus not showing, and she gave just some really great sentence structure advice, so I'm definitely going to incorporate those notes into my changes. And now I'm going through the notes from the family friend who is an author. She's done a lot of highlighting of places where I write with passive voice. That is definitely a crutch that I have, so and I don't think she's highlighted every part, so I need to be careful looking out for that. Hello, it's been a minute. I really took a big leap and I basically deleted my entire first chapter. Isn't that great? Okay, yeah, so I don't know if I left this clip in, but long story short, one of the comments I was getting from my family friend was that the tense of the prologue just kept her out of the story, and she just wanted to be able to fall into it, and there was something about the tense that couldn't allow her to fall into it. It just felt like too much explanation and not enough starting at the story. And I had kind of an earlier little debate with myself, and I was like, I really feel like you need this information before we get to the inciting incident. But in reality, you want your inciting incident to kind of be the inciting incident. You want it to be near the beginning of the book and not have your readers have to get through 10 pages of backstory before it starts to get interesting, because a lot of readers might not stick around for those first 10 pages. So I took a really big step and deleted my entire first chapter, trying not to panic about it. It's fine. I'm fine. Another thing that I really was concerned about when getting rid of this prologue was leaving out the first sentence. And here's the thing. I know as a writer, you should never, like, as a writer pursuing publishing, traditional publishing, you should, well, you know, I'm about to say stuff like I know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm talking about, so correct me if I'm wrong, because I would love to know if this is not true. But I've always been under the assumption that you should never really fall too much in love with any one thing about your book. I mean, in general, yeah, you want the plot to be great. You want to fall in love with your characters. You want to fall in love with the arcs that they go through. But I've tried to prevent myself from falling in love with like an idea for a cover or certain elements in the story. For example, my very first draft of the book, a lot of the chapters were actually interspersed with letters I had written to my sister while I was writing the book. I thought it would be such a cool addition for a reader to see what was in the author's head at each point of the story. I just thought it was a really cool framing device. However, when it came down to it, I recognized that those would probably just pull readers out of the story, and so I deleted them from my draft. Now, it is nice to know that I will always have that printed version of the story that I gave to my sister when I first finished the novel, and it has all those letters preserved. But I didn't allow myself to fall in love with the idea of having those letters in there all the way to the very end, because I suspected it was going to be very likely at some point either I was going to decide to take them out, or an editor or a publisher, you know, again, the very hypothetical pipe dream situation, would decide to take them out. The one thing I really fell in love with though was the first sentence. I'm almost nervous to say it right now because, you know, this is still just my personal edits. Like, there's still a chance that the first sentence will change along the way. But of course, that first sentence kind of leads into the prologue and the explanation behind the main character's, I'll just say, abilities. And so I was afraid that by cutting out the prologue and totally deleting the first chapter, I was gonna lose that first sentence. But again, sister to the rescue, we came up with a way to preserve the first sentence, get about a paragraph to 2 paragraphs of general background while still keeping the drama level up and jumping right into the inciting incident. Now, of course, I almost want to laugh because after I basically condensed 10 pages of prologue down into just under a page, I realized that my second chapter is also still a little bit of an info dump. Classic. However, we're really down to the line here, and I'm thinking the best thing for me to do is to just go through, read, make sure there are no glaring grammar errors or really embarrassing phrases that I, for some reason, thought were good to use a year ago, and then just send them off to the editor. I'm really hoping that her thoughts on the first 10 pages are gonna include how I can make it less of an info dump, make it a little bit more natural, and immediately grabbing the reader into the story.
I think, like, I have 14 chapters with 42,000 words.
Okay, so I just finished up watching one of Kate Kavanaugh's live streams for today, and I actually got through 27 pages out of 35. And when I say that, I just mean like a very quick, not quick, I was careful, edits, just making sure everything sounded nice and looks okay, the format is okay. The plan is I'm gonna get through the other 8 pages today, not look at it at all tomorrow, give myself kind of a clean slate, and then on October 3rd, I'm going to read it one more time and then send it off to the developmental editor. The pages aren't technically due until October 4th, but I really like the idea of getting them in early. And you know, I thought I was gonna be so nervous in the days leading up to sending these pages off, but that nervousness just isn't there for some reason. And I don't know if it's because she technically has already read some of my work and then agreed to edit my novel after reading it. So I know she's at least intrigued enough to want to spend her time helping me out. So maybe that's kind of a reassuring factor. There is a little bit of a, uh-oh, I totally deleted almost every single thing that she read when I sent my first 10 pages to her. But she knew that that was going to happen. I had already talked to her about it, that it was going to go under a major structural change. So I think it'll be okay, but part of me is like, what if she emails me and she's like, it was your first 10 pages that were intriguing to me, but now that I've read your other stuff, I don't want to do this. I know that won't happen, that wouldn't be very professional, but I still feel a little bad that like, it was a little bit of false advertising sending her my first 10 pages and then being like, JK, I'm deleting those pages, hope you still want to edit for me. Thanks. Okay, it's the morning of October 3rd. And it's hopefully the day I'm going to be sending my pages off to the editor. I have one more step before I'm totally comfortable doing that though. I have my computer with me and my pages, and what I'm going to do, it's actually something I've never done before, but it was advice that I got from my family friend. She says before she sends off any of her pages, she always lets her computer dictate them to her, so that way she can sit and listen, see if she likes the way the sentences sound, and if there are any kind of glaring grammar errors.
Chapter 1.
I have one of my characters trying to convince another person of something. They're having an argumentative discussion, we'll say. And the character, who's a younger teenage boy, says, "I'm serious, man." And this is how the dictation or the speech in my computer phrases it.
I'm serious, man. Sarah, who is the one?
It just finished. It just, the dictation just stopped, and it's now time to send it off. Whoa. Oh my gosh. I've resolved all the comments. I've gone through spelling and grammar checks and making sure the only red underlined words are words that are kind of made up, I guess, for the story. There's nothing left to do except send it out, and wow, okay, I am so nervous. Yesterday I was like, or 2 days ago I was thinking to myself, I'm not gonna be nervous, like, it's all good. She's already read my first 10 pages and obviously was okay with them enough to agree to edit
the first 35. But now my stomach is doing flip-flops. Yikes. Calm down, child. I've come up with a task so I can stall for just a little bit longer. I'm gonna insert a header that says the title of the story and my last name. I've read somewhere that that's something that some editors like, so I'm just gonna include it. And if she doesn't like it, she can remove it. But again, stalling tactic, not even gonna deny it. Some stalling tactic that took like 5 seconds. Oh no! I just have to tell myself that the nervousness I'm feeling is actually excitement. I'm so excited for her to read my first 35 pages, and I'm excited to get her notes back and know how I can improve my writing and her thoughts on how readers will perceive the beginning of the story. Again, I'm not nervous. I'm really excited. I'm so excited, in fact, I'm gonna open up Gmail right now and send it to her. Right now. Okay, I have the email drafted. Now we're going to attach the file. It's gonna make it, calm down, Wallace. You're fine. Make sure it's the most recent one. Yep. Hold on, I'm worried that like I'm not sending it to her in the format that she wants it, so I'm gonna, I'm totally stalling. I'm gonna go back to our editorial agreement letter and just make sure that it's in the correct format. Give me 1 second. Yep, it's fine, it's good to go. It's in a Word document. I'm sending it to the right email address, so we're good to go. I'm gonna reread it one more time. Again, stalling, but also I think that's just good practice. I'm gonna reread my little note to her. Not reread all 35 pages. I'm gonna reread my little note to her one more time. And then I'm gonna press send. Looks good. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Done. Woo!
Hi, it's Wallace. I'm editing this video and just now realizing that, like a total YouTube noob, I forgot to film an outro. Thank you so much for watching my struggle as I got my first pages ready for an editor. If by any chance you're interested in knowing what the editor has to say, definitely subscribe to the channel because I will be making a video about that once I get her notes back. Thanks again for watching, and if you're participating in NaNoWriMo, I hope your Preptober has been productive and full of inspiration so far. Sorry if my chair is making crazy creaking noises. I love it, but on camera it just comes off as like pop, 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 like